At the outset, let me also take this opportunity to warmly welcome and congratulate Abasa Saleh Waka Zelde following our appointment to the new position of Director General of United Nations offices at Nairobi. Excellencies, since 1945, the United Nations has tirelessly worked with significant success in serving humanity in various spheres of socio-economic and political development. I would especially single out the work of the United Nations in Africa, which has shown great commitment to our common vision of global solidarity and collective security as expressed in the Millennium Declaration. A good number of the threats identified in the Millennium Declaration, however, continue to bedevil the world and especially the African continent. Civil strife, refugee flows, new forms of terrorism, the dangers of both infectious and non-communicable diseases, climate change, and environmental degradation remain firmly on the radar scope of global concerns. And if you think that list is short, then listen to Larry Lisa. I note with satisfaction this year's UN Day theme of greening the blue, as the world continues to be confronted with unprecedented environmental challenges. This year's theme could not have been more appropriate. The COP17 of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change takes place in Durban at the end of the year. And I think the world seems to have forgotten that COP10 was actually here at the United Nations offices in Nairobi. I remember I had to go and lobby everybody in Buenos Aires that time to give Nairobi the 10th edition. This forum will provide us with the opportunity in Durban for putting in place effective mechanisms in our common endeavor of greening the future. The United Nations system, therefore, must take the lead in showing the way towards promoting environmental sustainability. In that regard, I commend the launch of the new agency and carbon neutral United Nations offices complex, which is really to my right, which was opened earlier this year in order to be able to showcase environmental sustainability. It is also with great admiration and pride that we reflect on the work of the late Nobel Peace Prize laureate, our own Professor Wangari Maathai. The late Nobel laureate's legacy should serve as an inspiration to the global community as we integrate the principles of environmental protection and sustainable development. Kenya will continue to build on this legacy and constructively contribute to issues of global interest, including international environmental governance. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Kenya does recognize the important role the United Nations continues to play in global affairs, in addressing man-made and natural calamities, protecting populations in armed conflicts, averting climate change, combating injustice, as well as promoting gender equality. This notwithstanding, a strengthening of international cooperation and forging mutual global partnerships are prerequisites in our collective responsibility of overcoming these and other challenges facing our world today. In our sub-region, the situation in Somalia poses a major challenge to international peace and security, as well as to the credibility of the very United Nations itself. The dramatic developments in Somalia in the last few weeks have, however, opened a window of opportunity to the United Nations to be more seized with returning normalcy to this neighborly sisterly state that has not known peace for the past 21 years. We are acutely conscious of the fact that there cannot be sustainable development without peace and without stability. African countries are taking responsibility and committing both human and financial resources to help end the conflict in Somalia. I therefore congratulate Burundi and Uganda. I keep on challenging others to add to the strength of AMISOM in Mogadishu, even as our men in uniform try to move as far as they can and hopefully be able to deal with what we know is a challenge in Kismayu. The United Nations, and especially the UN Security Council, has a vital role to play in determining how quickly we can bring to an end the suffering that the people of Somalia have been condemned to for the last 21 years. I even tried to tell them I belong to one of the clans, the Digli Mirifli, in addition to Awi and Arot, and that did not work. They came to this place and danced when we had in place the TFG. I think this is the time to make a difference. Excellencies, since mid-July 2011, a severe drought has been affecting the entire Horn of Africa sub-region. Said to be the worst in 60 years, the drought has caused a severe food crisis across Somalia, Kenya, and Ethiopia, and exacerbated the refugee inflow into our overcrowded refugee camps. I wish to commend the response of the UN to this crisis. Long-term strategies by national governments, in conjunction with the United Nations and other development agencies, are believed to offer the more sustainable results, which will also see the refugees return to their homes. We therefore look forward to working with the UN in implementing the Nairobi Action Plan that was agreed at the recent Horn of Africa Humanitarian Summit held here at the UN headquarters under the joint chairmanship of His Excellency President Mwai Kibaki and Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Ladies and gentlemen, in concluding my remarks, I wish to congratulate our two Kenyans, Leah Mwangi and Aching Sombe. You make us proud. I was telling, of course, I've been honored today for their selfless service and benevolence in contributing to the attainment of Millennium Development Goals through alleviation of human suffering and promoting sustainable livelihoods. But as I was listening to Acheng and our concern for the women in the northeastern province, how I see the heart of a truly caring Kenyan mother. And I was telling my friend, the resident coordinator, Chuma, that I think the UN is big enough to accompany this presentation with a little cash award. It will make all the difference. And I know, because this is just that certificate, and brings great honor, I know, but I think it's also important because these recipients do represent the whole communities. And as you have heard Acheng, she dedicates the award to all the nurses in this country. Let me once again take this opportunity to declare Kenya's full support for the UN and for the whole multilateral system of global cooperation and coordination. On this day, the Kenya government conveys its very best wishes to the UN Secretary General, His Excellency Ban Ki-moon, and all UN officials, many of whom are represented here today. I thank you for listening to me.